Americans hate Tucker Carlson's laundered anti-Americanism. Republicans think it's trash. Independents think it's trash. Democrats think it's trash. Americans are not pro-segregation, pro-rape, anti-woman, pro-child marriage, anti-black, anti-Jew, anti-Indian, anti-Latino, anti-Constitution, pro-Hitler nutjobs like Nick Fuentes. And Americans are not pro-Putin, pro-Iran, pro-China, pro-Venezuela, pro-Hamas, pro-Fuentes, pro-Tate idiots like Tucker Carlson.
In this MAGA civil war, I hope everyone loses. If you hadn't yet seen, Tucker Carlson hosted avowed neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes on his show and proceeded to pepper him with softball questions, which has prompted blowback from across the right. Ben Shapiro was just one example. But he summarized the issue at hand here. The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation then decided to robustly defend that performance. In addition to Shapiro, who made his whole show about this story, Senators Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz have also weighed in. Mitch McConnell said, "The intellectual backbone of the conservative movement is only as strong as the values it defends. Last I checked, conservatives should feel no obligation to carry water for anti-Semites and apologists for America-hating autocrats. But maybe I just don't know what time it is." And Ted Cruz, "Now is the time for choosing," Cruz said. "If you sit there with someone who says Adolf Hitler was very cool and that their mission is to defeat, quote, global Jewry, and you say nothing, then you are a coward and you are complicit in that evil." Now, I want to play this one clip from the Carlson and Fuentes interview where Ted Cruz was mentioned, because a case could be made that this is the real reason that many are up in arms over this. Take a look.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton? I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian.
Now I have one more video that I want to show you. While Tucker didn't specifically name Lindsey Graham there, Graham's response to the interview when speaking at the Republican Jewish Coalition underscores that this intra-party fight may be more about standing up for AIPAC than standing against anti-Semitism. Take a look.
We love the idea of Israel. We love the struggle they've been involved in. We love them, helping them because you're helping yourself. So to those who worry about these stupid interviews and far off places, don't worry. The Republican Party has figured it out when it comes to Israel. We understand that Israel is a friend of America to the bitter end. We understand that God blesses those who bless Israel.
There's more we want to get into, but Trae, what do you make of this ongoing fight between major establishment figures on the right and people like Tucker Carlson?
I mean, to me, I feel like the major establishment figures, as you call them, in my opinion, don't have much of a leg to stand on anymore, and long ago lost any kind of real plausible deniability when they refused to, stand on the side of sanity, after like January 6th and so many other points over the years. They can stand there now and clutch their pearls and be like, well, look, obviously this doesn't represent American conservatism, this type of extremist, bigotry or whatever. And it's like, I mean, it don't not represent it from where I'm sitting. You haven't made a strong enough stance against this type of thing. Sure, maybe Nick Fuentes is pushing it a little too far, but it's like that's where you're going to draw the line is with him. Like you've, stepped right over so many other lines that have been drawn in the sand ideologically for the past 10 years. So, I mean, honestly, I've been kind of, in a Schadenfreude sort of way. I've been enjoying some of the infighting that happens on the right in the past few years, including this as an example, because I've felt like I used to always think that there, you know, from my perspective, they didn't do much of that. There was one thing I was almost kind of jealous of. Like for years, you know, like a pre-Trump era or whatnot, I would lament the left's tendency to sort of have all this infighting and go each other's throats and pick itself apart and all that. And the right seemed to mostly stick together. But now, I mean, that's definitely not true. They've got all these factions as well because, you know, they let all these full-blown lunatic wolves into their hen house, and it's, you know, this is what happens. So I think it's kind of funny, I guess, is what I think. Basically, at the end of the day, I'm not losing much sleep over them all hating each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, I say let them fight.
Right.
I'm not going to run to Tucker's defense. I mean, I've made the case every time this has come up on this network that people like Tucker, people like Candace Owens, many others, I would say most of them, especially the ones that have clear, like well-documented histories of anti-Semitic comments, are trying to use this foreign policy matter, this genocide in Gaza, to build their audience, to curry favor with some on the left. I don't buy it for a second. But if they want to continue fighting with people like Lindsey Graham, with Mark Levin, Ted Cruz, let them fight. Let them just let that entire party just cannibalize. I'm not running to anyone's defense. But while the right contends with that latest controversy, Fuentes sees this as a launch pad to being a kingmaker for JD Vance. Here from Right Wing Watch, anti-Semitic white nationalist Nick Fuentes brags that he has Vice President JD Vance caught in the groyper squeeze, which sounds like a regional wrestling promotion signature move, and that Vance cannot denounce them because otherwise they'll crush his 2028 presidential campaign. This is how the groypers take over. Now, there is, I think, a legitimate concern by many that people like Tucker Carlson having Nick Fuentes on his show, and Fuentes has been getting, glowing profiles in many different media outlets. He's been making the podcast rounds. His movement is continuing to grow, and I think there's a legitimate concern, both from some on the right, but many on the left, that even engaging with him in like a battle of ideas or a debate or an interview, you're adding a layer of legitimacy to this kid that shouldn't be there. What do you think about this growing groyper movement and the potential groyper squeeze with JD Vance, Trae?
I mean, kind of like I said a minute ago, I feel like that ship is at least a little bit sailed. We've been doing that. That's what you just said about, it's like legitimizing him, it's giving him a platform. This is things that people have been, screaming from the mountaintops about, like Alex Jones being on Joe Rogan and that type of thing for a long time. And it's just like, I don't know, became a very successful grift methodology apparently over the years. And so people, their takeaway from that is this is what works, and you got to keep reaching deeper and deeper into the, the crazy well to make a splash or do numbers. I feel like if you're still trying to, fit that template, and eventually you reach a guy like Nick Fuentes, chewing on rats at the very bottom of the well. So this is just kind of what happens. This is the logical endpoint. And again, I'm saying, do I think that it all should come to an end? Yeah, of course I do. But it's just, this is the direction we've been heading in. I say we, the American right wing specifically, has been courting this and very deliberately heading down this exact path for a long time now. And to like plead ignorance at this point or act like they somehow didn't realize that this was a possibility or that might be happening is just, I just don't buy that. As far as, the groyper squeeze or whatnot, I don't know. I don't think I don't want to jinx anything, famous last words. I think JD is more than capable of like ruining his own chances between now and 2028. He's a charisma vacuum. So I don't know that the groypers will even need to do that at the end of the day, but we'll see.